Right then, Blues. Premier League football is back. Looking forward to it very, very much. But Manchester City, they've got to do the business because I want this feeling to last, man. I tell you what, it's been good. It's been good. Last time we were playing Premier League football, Arsenal dropped points, United dropped points, and we stuffed those pesky Scousers 3 zilch. Absolutely delicious. And I want this to continue. I see no reason why it can't. In fact, I think we should be coming out with chest. I see no reason to think we shouldn't be going to Newcastle and beating them. History is very much on our side. The Premier League form of Newcastle is very much on our side. They've won 3 out of 11 games so far this season. But make no mistake about it, this Newcastle side, on their day, they could take points off anybody. A very, very dangerous side. They've got players coming back, a midfield in particular, that is arguably one of the best 3 midfielders, as a combination at least, in the league. I think Joe Linton's been banged out of form, but Tonali and Bruno Guimaraes are still very much players to worry about in the midfield. Joe Linton, I think on his day again, physical presence, we've struggled with that in the past. Will we play Bernardo Silva against the likes of Joe Linton? I like that battle as a concept. It's very much Goliath taking on the little guy. What's the little guy's called? I can't remember his name now. What's his name? David. That was it. David. We got there in the end. Long pause there for that, just for the name David. But we're back. We're back. Brains. We're back on. They lost the 2 most recent away games against West Ham. New manager syndrome probably kicked in there for West Ham. I felt like it was a bit of a Nuno rocket up the arse for West Ham there. But Brentford as well, not an easy place to go, but they've lost back-to-back away games. This time, of course, St James's Park. It's not going to be an easy... We've got a great record there. In fact, we've won 12 away Premier League games at St James's Park. One of the best records we have away from home is St James's Park. In fact, our overall record against Newcastle is unbelievable because Newcastle have only won 1 in 35 meetings with Manchester City. The most recent 35, of course. Unbelievable record. And I fear them every time we face them. Yeah, I come away thinking, well, that was easy. Every time I face Newcastle, it's like I'm terrified going into the game because they're bloody good, especially recently under Eddie Howe, the midfield in particular, Tonali and Bruno Guimaraes. Joe Linton seems like he's back. They've got other players that could be returning as well. Key players are super important for Newcastle. Those could be back as well. It's going to be difficult. I'm just hoping come Sunday morning, we're all talking while I'm doing the player ratings. Make sure you tune in for that. Make sure you tune in for the watch long as well tomorrow night, 5:30 kickoff. Here in the UK, ran out of oxygen there towards the end of that sentence, but we recovered. Manchester City, will they need to recover any sort of confidence that was at all missing from the start of the season? It seemingly like we've already done it. It seems like we've already done that. We're already back into the vein of winning and that positive feeling. I want to hang on to it, and we've got to do that against Newcastle. Super, super important game. What a statement it would be to go to St James's Park before Arsenal and Spurs face each other. Again, a fixture I fully expect Arsenal to win. But if you can just add some morsel of pressure onto the likes of Arsenal, knowing that next day we are breathing down their necks with 1 point behind them, then they'll be worried. The whole debate this week has been, should Arsenal be worried about Manchester City? If we beat Newcastle, I'd love to hear that question being answered by Arsenal fans again. I tell you what, I would love it. They all seem to think it's all about Erling Haaland. Understandably so, in fairness to the Arsenal fans, because he has been unbelievable. Unbelievable this season, and he could get his 100th Premier League goal this weekend against Newcastle. And what a moment it would be, because that would be 24 games quicker than Alan Shearer. That would be unbelievable. And to do it at St James's Park, while obviously Alan Shearer would likely be watching on, would be sort of poetic as well. I've got nothing against Newcastle, actually. I quite like them. I like Shearer. I like everything about Newcastle. There's nothing about them that offends me. I think there's a bit of this going on between City fans. The whole oil club thing, I think we're like, bit of one of them, innit? One of them. But we've got Haaland to do the business. If we can do the business, their solidity is their strong point this season, though. So Haaland, albeit has been in sensational form this season, he's got his work cut out for him because he's going against this Newcastle side that are absolutely sensational this season defensively. 5 clean sheets out of those 11 Premier League games, albeit the 14th in the league table. They've still kept 5 clean sheets. Only City and Arsenal, in fact, have faced a lower XG against than Newcastle. So they're very, very defensively sound, but they are missing a key component to that defence, and that is Dan Burn, who is suspended for this game, which I think is a massive, massive loss. Albeit they've got players coming back, he is key. Set pieces in particular, defending them as well. Cause I'm not that we are going to score from one, because we've not done that once this season. It would be nice if we could do that. That would be nice this season. That's definitely something we need to improve on. Defending set pieces, lately it's got a bit sloppy, but prior to the Villa Matty Cash goal, as well as another one recently, I can't remember, we conceded another set piece recently. It could have been Virgil van Dijk. Don't forget that. That could have been a set piece conceded. Probably should have been. But fuck them. Have some of that. Love it. But Newcastle, their problem is scoring. Can we keep Voltemade quiet? Anthony Gordon could be back. In fact, let's talk about the missing players, in fact. So Newcastle missing Dan Burn due to suspension, which I think is a massive, massive blow. Big bonus for Manchester City. Juan Vita is missing from the game as well, which is another big blow. Harrison Ashby is another player missing for Newcastle. Doubts are William Asula. Anthony Gordon is a very minor doubt. I expect him to at least be on the bench, probably starting this one, because he trained. Nick Pope, he went through the concussion protocol after his concussion went off against the game versus Brentford. Should be fine. He's cleared to play for this game as well. Tino Livramento, he was a doubt before this game. He's trained too. Joe Linton as well. He should be back as well. So those players that I've just named that were all on the fringes of not being available for this game, the likes of Gordon, Nick Pope, Livramento and Joe Linton, if those 4 were missing, plus Dan Burn, you'd think should be doing the business here. But 4 of them are back. So they've got lots of positivity coming back into the squad, which has got to be great news for Newcastle fans. City, missing is definitely Kovacic. He is out, and Rodri continues to be a doubt for Manchester City. Now, onto the starting 11s. This is my Newcastle 11. I'm not going with Livramento yet. I think with it being such a lengthy breakout for Livramento, I would expect him to be on the bench, probably, to throw him straight into a starting 11 against Manchester City, having only just come back from such a long spell out. I would expect Trippier, but I mean, you never know. He could be fit and raring to go. Malik Thiaw and Sven Botman. Lewis Hall would likely replace Dan Burn, who is a good player as well. So it's, even though Dan Burn is obviously preferable, Lewis Hall, he's too just come back from a bit of an injury spell. He did play for England under-21s during the international break as well, so he's probably got that match fitness under his belt, raring to go. And that midfield 3, if Joe Linton's back, it's a big difference, even though he's not played that well this season. If you listen to the Newcastle fans, they've not been too happy with Joe Linton's performances this season. But Tonali and Guimaraes are still very much more than capable to batten down the hatches and cause Manchester City some serious problems at both ends of the pitch. Voltemade, who I'm a big fan of him, by the way. Didn't know much about him, in all honesty, before he signed for Newcastle, but every time I watch him, he's very unorthodox, and I like that. I like his unorthodox approach to the game. He's very slow and very calm and calculated, but his feet, mate, it's just like, for a big guy, even for an average-sized guy, his feet are so quick, very silky smooth, knows where the back of the net is. He's a very dangerous player, Voltemade. Murphy on the right and Anthony Gordon, if he's fit, on the left. And we know they like to, they tend to transition between a high press and a mid block. That was more so with Isak leading the line last season. With Voltemade leading the line, they've got less pace in terms of the press. He's not the most vicious in terms of closing you down and causing you problems when you're trying to play out from the back. So City aren't really doing that themselves this season as much. We are definitely going a little bit more direct and trying to penetrate that any sort of press and getting it into the halfway line and beyond as quick as we possibly can, in all honesty. With the likes of Erling Haaland, I would expect Newcastle, therefore, to drop into some sort of a mid-block. Without them, though, I'd expect Voltemade to be pushing in this sort of position and have these two pressing instead, and Nico Gonzalez being shepherded by the likes of Voltemade instead. And any balls out to the centre-backs, these two will trigger the press if they are going to press. There's not much tactically to talk about with Newcastle. What you see is what you get. It's quite a simple approach, and simple but effective when it works. Manchester City, though, you could say the same thing, because we are starting to become quite predictable in the 11 that we want to pick, because we're winning football matches. We've found a formula that works. This man has been the catalyst to a large portion of why Manchester City have been successful in recent times. Ruben Dias and Josko. Josko didn't have his greatest game against Liverpool, but he needs to have his defensive abilities at maximum capacity for this game, because he's going to have his work cut out for him against Jacob Murphy and Anthony Gordon as well. Right back, Nunes, who's been absolutely brilliant. Can't find him. Where are you? Mateus. There you are. Big Mateus Nunes, who has been absolutely brilliant in recent times. Cafunas has been superb. No reason to drop him. The same can be said about Nico O'Reilly. Ryan Aït-Nouri, I think he's a great player, Ryan Aït-Nouri. I think we've signed a brilliant player in Ryan Aït-Nouri, but it's great to think that he's not good enough to get in this side right now because of Nico O'Reilly. So we've got amazing cover out there in the left-back position with Nico O'Reilly, Ryan Aït-Nouri, Nathan Ake, Josko Vardiol. They can all do that role incredibly well. So the left-back position is fucking nailed down, man. We haven't said that for quite some time. And now we've got a right-back problem, which has been fixed by Mateus Nunes. We just don't quite have that cover over there. Nico Gonzalez, for me, who's been absolutely sensational. Bernardo Silva is the only one for me that I think there is a debate as to whether he should be starting this game because of the Guimaraes, Tonali, Joe Linton trio. He's technical and he's not shy of a tackle. He loves getting stuck in. But I would ask you this. Who's been the tougher of the two this season? Who's been the more physical presence? I know one is bigger than the other in terms of height between Reinders and Bernardo Silva, but out of the two, which one's been the tougher opponent? Who would you want to face when you're going into a duel with, for example? Reinders or Bernardo Silva? Height-wise, Tijjani Reinders, but actually the chance of you coming out with the ball, I would rather face Tijjani Reinders because he's not been winning his duels this season for me. And going into a tough midfield battle against the likes of Guimaraes, Tonali and Joe Linton, albeit he's not the biggest guy in the world, I would still rather have that little bulldog terrier, the warrior that is Bernardo Silva for me. So I would still play Bernardo Silva in this game. And I would like to see him probably in that sort of position, dropping in, possibly being a bit more of that 8 versatile role that we've seen. But Ryan Cherky for me, and who else we got? We got Phil Foden popping it behind the likes of Erling Haaland, and the man who has been on absolutely sensational form this season is Jeremy Doku. Absolutely brilliant, mate. Love him. Bernardo Silva's role is going to be there, basically, up and down and getting alongside Nico Gonzalez to collect the ball. Phil Foden, I would expect Ryan Cherky and Phil Foden to end up looking like this. You could see Mateus Nunes coming forward. Potentially, you could see a bit of rotation between Ryan Cherky and Bernardo Silva. He's just given free license, isn't he? Bernardo Silva at the minute, given total free license. But I would like to see more of that, please. And Nunes, you got to pick your moments, pick it wisely, because this is the only area of concern when he does come forward and Cherky inverts Nunes. These two being left on their own with Anthony Gordon, and especially if Nico Gonzalez, because we've seen that really lately, haven't we? We've seen these two coming forward so aggressively, and we've left those two at the back. But as always, it's those two players, and regardless of the opponent, we just hope they have an off day and they're not able to find them as well. But City have been so good in the counter-press in recent times that we've not really been getting a hit on the break because we're winning the ball back quite early. And we are just... Game management has been fantastic from all of the 11 players that have started the recent games, when knowing when to go forward and knowing when there's a possibility you could lose the ball and get done on the break here. And just positioning the team, not one individual, the team is always so well positioned in recent times to just not be so susceptible to counter-attacks. And I think it's just a case of learning. It's taken time for Pep Guardiola to hand over the knowledge to these players, and they're enacting it on the pitch in brilliant fashion. It's so good to watch. We've got to keep it going against Newcastle, and if we can beat them regardless of the scoreline, I would love an emphatic 3-0, something like that. In all honesty, I think this is going to be a close game. I'm going to go 2-1 City. Let me know your predictions in the comments below. Make sure you're tuning in for the watch long. 5:30 kickoff here in the UK. Massive game. Make sure you're tuning in. Like and subscribe to Typical City, and I'll see you in the next one.
This is Typical City now, holding up silverware.